Welcome back to This Is a Commander channel, where this is a Commander channel, and today I'm going to talk about Commander Tough Rules and Cool Interactions, episode 102. Today's episode is going to take a look at a specific card that was released in the March of the Machine Commander deck called Tinker Time, which was a deck about having multiple kinds of artifact tokens with different names, which has absolutely nothing to do with the card that I'll be talking about today, but what the card actually does is pretty dang cool. It's actually unique in the game of Magic, so let's get to the card. Dance with Calamity is a sorcery for a whopping 7 and a red, and it says, shuffle your library. As many times as you choose, you may exile the top card of your library. If the total mana value of the cards exiled this way is 13 or less, you may cast any number of spells from among those cards without paying their mana costs. So when most players read this card, they will see it as a really risky way to possibly spend only 8 mana to get up to 13 mana's worth of spells. I personally run this card in my Magar of the Magic Strings deck, as I will never actually spend the 8 mana on it, and when you cast it multiple times through the combat in Magar, it doesn't feel all that bad to screw it up and go past 13 mana. And then, of course, it can also show up in some of the lower power Prosper the Tome-bound decks from time to time because, well, just about 50% of every single red and black card printed in the last 2 years seems to fit into a Prosper deck. But today I want to cover how this exiling card is different from every single other Magic card in the game. I recently covered in Tough Rules and Cool Interactions episode 99 the difference between determinate, or known, and indeterminate, or unknown, actions and how indeterminate exiling can be really explosive in decks with Lelia, the Blade Forged, or the War Doctor in the 99, but especially if they are your commanders. If a card like Tybalt's Trickery that says exile until something, then those will trigger effects like we see on Lelia and the War Doctor over and over for each of the cards exiled. But these could just be a 1, or who knows, they could be a 10 or more, and that variance can sometimes be a bummer. So that's why a card like Dance with Calamity is so freaking cool. If we take a look at the text on it again and pay close attention to the wording that is used, there is only one requirement on the card, that in order for us to cast the cards for free, then their collective mana value mustn't exceed 13. But there's no actual limitation as to how many cards we can just keep exiling from our library during its resolution. You could exile both of the Ulamogs right from the very start of this card resolving and be at 21 total mana value, but then you can just keep going. Even though there's no way for you to now cast any of these exiled cards, you can just keep going for as long as you want. 15 cards in, 25 cards in, 40 cards in, or whatever. So if you do control something like the War Doctor, and then you can use this dance to instantly give him 40 time counters or more if you're going against a life gain deck, and then you can attack to trigger a lethal amount of damage onto a player. And of course, if you have the means to copy that trigger, then you could eliminate 2 or possibly all 3 of your opponents on that one singular attack. The War Doctor and Lelia are the only 2 commanders that I can think of that I could search for that actually stand to benefit from this little interaction. But as the game of Magic continues, as it's printed more and new cards are spoiled and come out every year, then you may want to always have this dance in the back of your mind in case they make another commander or just a card in general that can be busted, that can be broken with this effect to just endlessly indeterminately exile cards from your library. Anyhow, that's all I've got for today's episode. As always, I hope that all of you found this video to be entertaining at least, and I hope that a few of you have even learned something about the crazy rules in this great game of Magic. Have a good one. Ta-ta!